Alright, y'all, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about trust. But before I get into that, Merry Christmas. Right now is Christmas Eve. And I think this is kind of like the perfect time to be talking about trust because I think a lot of us struggle with it. I think I've run into a couple of people, mainly women, that struggle with trust. Guys, too, actually. Guys, too. Both men and women I've run into struggle with trust and really like establishing some form of a connection because they're not capable of being vulnerable with the other person due to like some forms of childhood trauma or an experience, like an overwhelming experience with someone who was significant to them. So, you know, they stem for different reasons, and I'm just gonna break down why, I really think we should work on our ability to trust others because if you want to experience true intimacy, excuse me, if you want to experience true intimacy in this lifetime of yours, you had to know how to trust others. Like that's a non-negotiable. You cannot experience the true joys of life if you do not trust other people. And I'm gonna just go into saying it because it starts with self-reliance. You know what I'm trying to say? A lot of the times we don't trust others because we feel like it's like high stakes. We feel like if we trust this person, something majorly bad is gonna happen because we could catastrophize the entire situation, and we feel like, the outcome at the end of it will feel probably destroyed, or we'll feel like we gave a part of ourselves that, was just so much that, oh my God, like I did it, now look what happened. I'm never gonna do it again because I don't want to have the opportunity. You're traumatizing yourself. I guarantee you, with whatever it is that you trust somebody with, you will still be okay at the end of it because you have you. You know what I'm trying to say? You got to understand that the whole thing about trust is trusting yourself first, becoming more trustworthy yourself. Because at the end of the day, you don't want trust to feel so critical. You know what I'm trying to say? I get it. People have to earn your trust. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying people shouldn't earn your trust. But at the end of the day, you gotta know how to gain new perspectives on the perspective that you already have. You can't just only keep one. I'll run into women and they'll say, man, I'm so sick of men. I'm so sick of men. You never know who anybody is, da 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 da. Or like, I've been burned by a man before. So it's just like, all other men are this, that, and the third. Okay, that might be your experience. But the reality is not all men are going to treat you that way. And so long as you carry this chip on your shoulder of I hate men, you're always going to propel any man that will potentially want to be with you or change that idea that you have in your mind that all men are bad. Because I promise you right now, the more self-respecting men, the men that actually want love, a family, and craves love the same way that you do, also holds and embodies self-respect. And he's not gonna put himself in a situation where he's with a woman that hates him automatically because he's a man. That's crazy. That would be crazy on their end. And no love should be something that's starting off desperate. You know what I'm trying to say? You don't want to put your future husband in that position. And then for the guys, a lot of the times we feel like, oh, this woman might not be emotionally capable of handling anything that I had to say or anything about my experience that, I have to offer. And while I can say if that's your discernment, then you got to trust your discernment. But the reality is you'll never know what a person is capable of doing for you unless you give them that opportunity to have a chance to prove themselves. You obviously know your trust is earned. Make it clear for them. Hey, this is the experience that I went through. This is what I feel like could happen if I open up to you this way. And this is what I would like from you whenever this situation arises, because you're going to have emotional triggers even if you're a man. A lot of people try to make it seem like men aren't emotional. No, we are. We're emotional creatures. We have emotions. We're human. So you got to get past that stigma, because if we can't get past that stigma, we can't get to the work of anything else. So you got to give people chances. You got to give people chances. You can't close off. You can't just put up this wall, because this wall that you put up is not only going to keep the bad out, but it's also going to keep the good out as well. So you got to be mindful and have a balance. You understand? You have to have a balance, and know that, communication and integrity is everything. You know what I'm trying to say? That's everything. There's no way you can tell whether or not someone is trustworthy if you can't communicate with them. You get what I'm saying? And then you can't build a relationship with them as well if you don't express your boundaries, because nobody's a mind reader. The number one thing that I dislike the most, and I will say straight up I dislike, are people that expect themselves out of other people. Other people are not you. You have to learn that. They're not you. So what you know, they don't know, and you have to be okay with that. There might be some things that y'all meet in the middle about, but there's obviously going to be a disconnect later on down the line, because nobody's perfect. We're all flawed, So the only way things get better is through communication and intent to build and really establish, not be critical and tear down. You don't want to tear down the person that you're trying to build with. That's craziness. How would you ever make anything work? The reality is that you couldn't. And then another thing too, you could start developing your trust, because I mentioned this earlier. You could really start building your trust by being trustworthy yourself. You have to be trustworthy yourself, because at the end of the day, if you don't perform any selfless acts, you don't check on others without expecting anything in return. You don't have an outcome attached to doing this thing. And you have, you need spiritual clarity. But all those three things is what defines trust. And if you don't have it in yourself, you're not going to be able to recognize it on another person. And you're not going to offer it up to another person, because you're so in your head, oh, this person this person this, you're drawing all these similarities. What's the reality? That's the real question you should be asking yourself. What's the reality? Are they proving themselves to be distrustful, or am I starting off something being distrustful myself? Because I guarantee you, the same person that you're put in a position of proving to you that they have to trust, they have to prove themselves that they're worthy of your trust. They're thinking the same way about you. And if you're constantly doubting them, why would they trust you? How are you becoming a trustworthy person by having people doubt you off your first initial reaction, or the minute things start to get a little bit serious? I can understand if there are certain things that a person does that can be a bit sketch, but I'm always going to be an advocate and saying that people are complex creatures and nobody stays the same. People make mistakes. That's how we learn. And if I'm going to be honest with you, objectively speaking, the person who makes the mistake and is more remorseful is more likely to do right by you than the person who has zero experience and hasn't made any mistakes at all. So, I don't know, do what you want, do what you will with that information or that take. You know what I'm trying to say? Because, hey, we're all human. And you gotta be fair. You can't just have one perspective and it doesn't take into account for everything else. People have circumstances. People have situations. It's like that story with the French robber, right? If he can't afford food, but he steals a piece of bread from the grocery store, does that make him a criminal, or does that just make him human? And a lot of times, I'm going to always go with saying, that just makes him human. You know what I'm trying to say? You can't always go about things morally correct. And sometimes That's the reality of life. There's so many different nuances. We're told to be this, we're told to be that, but certain circumstances don't necessarily mean that you do that. I heard a story about this guy who was a Navy SEAL, and he was saying that, the whole code of conduct was to be honest and integral and follow the rules. He walked into a dorm with one of his Navy SEAL teammates, and he saw that he was drinking. Drinking was banned. It wasn't allowed. So what he did was say, "Man, whoa, what's going on?" The teammate was like, "What are you gonna do, narc on me?" And he's like, "Well, now that I see this, I have to, because this is against the rules." He goes and tells the sergeant, "Yo, I just seen so-and-so drinking in the dorm, and I'm just doing what I'm told. I'm following the rules." The sergeant is like, "Have you never heard of loyalty before? You're telling on your you're telling on your boy, your own teammate. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, your comrade, someone who's on the same level as you, you're telling on them?" This is the sergeant. He's like, and now the guy's confused. He's like, "Yo, wait, I'm just following the rules. I'm doing what I was told. I'm just protecting myself. I don't want to get in trouble." He's doing the right thing. The right thing. But at the end of the day, it just didn't work out for him. It didn't work out for him. He ended up carrying that one decision where he did the right thing, but it was told that he was wrong the entire time. And that's why I just say so many of these things that we come across in life is subjective, and you have to see the nuances of things. You can't just be decisive and conclusive on whether or not you could just trust somebody, especially without hearing out the entire story. You know what I'm trying to say? Or without hearing the way that they think, because I guarantee you, it's less about right or wrong and just a matter of the perspective and whether or not that person is willing to change their perspective and do better. I care more about reflective ability than anything. If you could show me that you could reflect and you could learn from your past mistakes, we could go the distance. Because guess what? I'm gonna be flawed as a human being. You gonna be flawed as a human being. But guess what? We're gonna be working through it together. And I would say the last point that I can make is you have to accept the risk of trusting other people. You have to accept that. How do you build a friendship? You can't have a friend if you can't be vulnerable with them. You can't have a friend without being vulnerable with them, in the sense where you give information to that friend and they could take that information and hurt you, and they choose not to. That's the definition of a friend for me. That's the definition of a friend for me, if you ask me. I just don't think a lot of people understand that to know if you could trust them, you gotta take the risk. You got to take the risk, and you can always start small, because trust is a thing that is developed over time. You know what I'm trying to say? It's developed over time, and you got to just be okay with that. A lot of people like to rush into things. "Oh, I just met you. We should be able to do all these different things." Da, 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 da. Yeah, maybe if I was like 20. We would definitely do that, because I was a lot more naive and a lot more younger, and I was a lot more unaware of the world. But I'm giving y'all advice, on a more mature level. You have to take your time, and you got to know how to communicate, and you got to know how to express boundaries, because certain people don't know. They're not you. So, you got to accept that some people is going to inevitably disappoint you. What person in your life is perfect? That's crazy. And you got to know this is part of the human imperfection, And if you really want to go into it, I always talk about this. The law of detachment. One of the laws is releasing your expectations. You expect people to be perfect off rip and know exactly how to treat you and da-da-da-da-da. That's not the reality. You're not allowing things to be authentic. You are in an illusion where you feel like this person should be perfect all the time. I've had people project those things onto me too. I've been through my fair share of battles where people straight up misunderstood me, and that's gonna happen. That's the human experience. But you had to know that this is what all comes with it, and it goes into turning into this risk and reward. If you don't take the risk, you can't see the reward. It's that simple. And you gotta know that. If you can't risk trusting other people, you do not get the opportunity of the experience that you so claim to want. There's so many people that be like, oh, I love love. They're on a yacht. They're on the beach. They're on the jet ski. Oh, they're traveling. Oh, they have a family together. Oh, they're painting together. Oh, they're doing all of this. Listen, you can't have that unless you're willing to put in the work. You can't have that unless you're willing to take the actionable steps to have it. And up saying, you know, I want this. This is the intention. This is what I want. And this is how I'm going to go about it. And I'm not going to be discouraged because someone from my past decided to do me dirt. I'm not going to let them block my blessings. And you got to be real about that. You can't stop because someone else made you fall. Get back up. Get back up. Learn from it. Be better. Learn to analyze little key things. I ain't never gonna say be blind. Be cautious. That's all I'm saying. Be cautious. You can even outright ask. There's nothing wrong with that. Hey, can I trust you with this thing? Yes or no? If you really want to give, can I trust you with this thing? If your intuition is telling you that you can't trust them, don't ask them. Don't ask them. Don't second guess yourself. I ain't saying be a fool out here. But what I am saying is, if you know that person is willing, that person is trying, or you know someone is genuinely interested in being in your life, but they might not have all the pieces that you necessarily are looking for, you can work with them. You could work with them. There's nothing wrong with that. You got to have self-awareness. You got to have kindness. And you also have to hold space to be courageous. If you want it, you got to go out and get it. Sometimes life requires us to lead. And that's why I make these videos, for you to have the intention with your life. You have to try. You can't just accept and just be this loner. Life is not made for you to just be by yourself. You have to grow as a person, as a human being. That's the entirety of this experience. It's all about evolution. I never saw myself making YouTube videos and talking about things for people to watch me. I don't know what can happen to this. But at the end of the day, that's not what I'm doing this for. I'm doing this because I really say, you know what? I want to help people. And I want to offer a different perspective. And it's always good to be around energy like this because it challenges you. And that's love. And I know that I love hard. This is love. Because at the end of the day, how could you say you love somebody if you aren't willing to spiritually nurture them? And I'm willing to spiritually nurture you. I want to see you live in abundance. I want to see you walk in your blessings. I want to see love covered all over you. You know what I'm trying to say? I want to see that healthiness out of you. I want to see you enjoy life to its fullest and take all the good things it has to offer. And in order for you to do that, you got to try. You got to do it. Not even try. You got to do it. It's that simple. You got to do it. I don't even like using the word try, but I've used it for so long in my life that I've recognized how habitual it is. But there's a difference between trying and doing. And I'm not going to lie. On the other side, that's what triers do. Triers try. Triers, I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to try to do this. But winners, they like, yo, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm not going to let nothing get in my way. Because you know why? I deserve this. I deserve good things in my life. And I'm not going to block my own blessings because of a concept or a preconceived notion that somebody gave me. I know I deserve good things in my life. And I'm going to always keep working on the root of me. So that way I don't have to stay in this traumatic form. I don't want to stay in that traumatic form. I want to elevate and I want to grow. And how I do that is by reflecting on myself and saying, you know what, this is where I can improve. So you got to want that for yourself. This is my video on trust. I really want to make sure you guys take away something. Please like the video, comment down below. What did you feel like you learned? And just engage with the post, because you know what? It would mean a lot to me to know that this resonated with someone. It would mean a lot to me if it resonated with you more particularly, because if you found this video, if you took the time to watch this, I know for a fact you're special. I know for a fact that you want to learn. I know for a fact that you care about your own enrichment. You don't want to be the same. You want to evolve, and you want more things in your life. So share the video for people to get the opportunity to learn more. Thank you. I appreciate you. Have a good Christmas. Be safe. Next video, I'm probably going to be talking about something a little bit more interesting. I don't know. I've been thinking whether or not I want to talk about like this whole I don't even want to get into it, but because I don't want to spoil it, but there's so many different things that I could really get into. I could talk about all the little reactionary stuff that's happening and like pop culture and stuff like that. Comment down below if you guys want to see my or hear my take on these events that are happening in pop culture, and you know, we could probably get some reaction videos out. All right, y'all, have a good one. We're gonna lock and see you guys Thursday.